Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, after I sort of was talking to you about my practices, I began to wonder if this wasn't a non sort of a non-topic. But you getting your students to teach each other is something I do. Just to go back, give you a bit of background, where I learnt, which was in those days called the John Ding International Academy of Tai Chi Chuan. One. Get your teeth around that. Um, it was quite usual. There were, it was a huge place. There were about 11 classes a week, um, frequently 20 people in a class, something we all like to see these days. And John Ding rarely taught, mostly instructors that he didn't employ, um, but teaching was one to one, and the senior students would come along and help new people like me. Um, we learn the moves, and it was always one move at a time. And once you got that, they teach you the next one. I think I spent the first night. I spent about 45 minutes doing this, and even then I didn't get it. Um, but I've continued with that, and I've got it's a small class. I've got about 9 students altogether, if they all show up. Um, 3 of them I count as seniors. One guy's been with me for since I started teaching about 15 years ago. Another one came to me recently and said, "Hey, I've been here 10 years now, and I've got another lady who I would, if I remember correctly, about 7 or 8 years, and they pretty well know it. And I always task them to go off and teach people, teach new students. The only drawback, of course, is they tend to get carried away and try to teach a bit too much. You did ask me what the drawbacks were, Robert, and you can ask them, let's teach this guy single whip, and before you know it, they're in the second part of the form. Um, so you have to slow them down sometimes. But what I was thinking rather more, one of the things I think I'm trying to do is give people confidence. And if we talk about the self-defense aspect, that is a very important part of that. And I found that if I take somebody who's maybe learning the second part of the form and perhaps stuck on step back to a false monkey or something and just can't get it, and it happens. If I take them and put them with somebody who's a bit further down the chain and say, teach this guy um, a move, play the pipe or something relatively easy. After they panicked and you showed them what you want, I can't do that, but you show them what you're after and go off and leave them. It completely changes their attitude, and when they come back next week, they're back, back on track. I think that I mean, on a good night with the right mix of people, I can tell my 3 seniors to go and teach him, teach her, teach that group, and then go and have a cup of tea. But yeah, don't really do that. I just go around and interfere with what they're learning. But I don't know if anybody else, has that approach. But I found it pretty useful uh, from all sorts of points of view, and particularly giving people the confidence to do what we're trying to do. So, that's about it, Robert.
Sorry, took me longer to unmute there because there's 2 ways you can unmute. You can unmute up there at the top of the screen, or you can unmute at the bottom of the screen. And you shouldn't give me choices. John, thank you for sharing that with us. I think what I am going to do is I noticed somebody called Sarah has joined us, although at the moment we just have the image rather than the face. Hello, Sarah. Oh, and obviously Peter, hi. I see you there. Since it's Lewis's first time here, and I am not sure whether it's Sarah's or not, before we come back and visit what you've just talked about, John. Lewis, would you care to unmute and just give us a brief understanding of your involvement with Tai Chi, what you do? You've mentioned you're in Lisbon, but anything
Yeah,
else would be great.
yeah, with pleasure. Well, I don't have the level that you guys have. I'm sort of starting, but I've been practicing with Yang Ming, one of his students here in Portugal for some years. And recently I joined the Yang family Tai Chi uh, with Master Yan Jun, and training for in the instructors academy that they created. Until two years ago, I had a very busy professional life, so I could not really commit myself to teaching or that. I used to help my former teacher in the classes, but I could never get the time or the away, because I was always traveling and always dependent on my professional work. Since 2 years ago, I started to concentrate because I left the company. So I started to concentrate on Tai Chi and also doing a PhD in design area, which is a different business. So I've been in for more than 20 years, um, just trying to learn as much as I can. I've been in China 2 times in Zhenjiang training with the Chinese master, Shen Yuhua, which is the son of Chen Jinzhou, which already died in the 90s. And so I've been learning most of the time. Now I'm starting classes, regular classes. We created the Portuguese Association of the Young Family Tai Chi in Portugal just 2 months ago. And we three friends, we are creating, opening schools and starting to teach the young family. So that's mainly my
Lovely. Thank you.
my
Thank
track.
you very much. So, when do you expect to complete your PhD?
Well, I have until 2019, so I have a lot of time in, but I hope
19.
19, yes. So, but no, in 29, sorry,
Oh,
29. 19 actually was the first, my first date, because I stopped for 10 years. I was just pending on doing the final presentation, but because of my work, I had to stop. And actually, I ended up stopping for 10 years. I'm resuming now. Um, and, uh, but I hope next year I'll be able to finish, because I have to do an update and all that. So it's a bit outdated now because of AI and all these things. Because in design there's this construction, digital drawings. It changes a lot, and so I'm updating all that. But hopefully next year I'll be able
oh well,
to
good luck
finish
with
it.
that. That's great. Thank you for
I'll sure
sharing that
need
with
it.
us. Sarah, or Sarah, or however it's pronounced here. If you want to remain in background mode, that is, of course, your decision and okay. But on the whole, we are a fair, and I apologize if you've been to a dozen of these before and I just haven't remembered you because my memory is not the greatest. But if it is your first time, if you would care to unmask and share with us who you are and where you are, that would be great.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, sorry, I just can't unmask. Well, I can technically, but because I am, well, because I went to I was in a festival yesterday. I'm still actually, yeah, I'm not ready. I mean, just I'm not ready to.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
don't want to shock everybody. That's the bottom line. So yeah, I got here because well, I should have really emailed Robert before I came. I'm a friend of Brian Cook's. Yeah. And I practice Wu style Tai Chi. And I'm originally from Hong Kong. And I well, because of whatever was happening there politically in Hong Kong, I left the city and I came to the UK. Now I'm based around Bristol. Yeah, not too far from where Brian is. Yeah, I met Brian 2 years ago, maybe, or last year, 2 years ago, when my Tai Chi teacher, I prefer calling him teacher, Joe Lee, or Dr. Joe Lee, no, Dr. Joe Cha, sorry, I'm not very much awake, so I'm still slowly becoming awake. So, Dr. Joe Chow, who sadly passed away last year, and so he, if I remember correctly, is he was the fifth.
Sorry to interrupt, Sarah. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. Robert, could you mute yourself? We're getting a lot of breakthrough from your microphone. If you could just mute yourself while Sarah's talking, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Please carry on, Sarah.
Yeah. And then yeah. And so my teacher Dr. Joe Chow was the fifth generation, one of the fifth generation disciples of Wu style Tai Chi. And yeah, so and I've been practicing Tai Chi with him, learning from him, or I had been doing that for 7 years or so. Yeah. And yeah, because I came to the UK, since I got to the UK, I really haven't had a chance to learn, like to practice with Joe. Of course, I mean, he passed away then last year, and yeah, so yeah, basically this is what I do, and or in terms of Tai Chi, and I practice on my own, and yeah, whenever I can, I practice with other people. Yeah, trying to be involved as much as I can. Mm.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank you
much for
very
that.
much for letting me be here. Thank you.
No. Right, so I think pretty much people can mute and unmute as they choose to now. Actually tell you what, let's have a show of hands. The people who teach, how much, I don't know if you can do this as a show of hands, do you assign students to teach other students? You do, Sue, you do, Robert. Thank you for that, Steve. Steve went like that, meaning, I guess, come see, come sa, a little bit occasionally. Lewis does. I'm trying to, because and I've been trying to recently because John inspired me. Sue, is that you would like to come in and talk? Please come in.
So I'd just like to let you know why and how I bring people in to help. And for me, I think it's important as new people come into the class. Obviously, doing a long form, it's very difficult to get brand new people to it's just not possible to get brand new people to do a long form unless they've done some Tai Chi before, of course. So I have a couple of students who are who've been with me for quite a number of years, and I let them join the group for first section. That gives me an idea to have a look at how balanced they are, whether if they seem to be having fun and they seem to be doing it. I will stop at the end of first section and say, how do you feel? Because I've got David, or I've got somebody else who can take you away and go over what we've just done. Or would you like to go and carry on through? And then if they say yeah, I'd stop it again at the second section, obviously keeping an eye on them and seeing whether they are going to manage with the kicks and things like that. So for me, it's very important to let those people not put them under duress, let's put it that way, because it can be difficult to do. If they're enjoying it, laughing, and not going to put themselves in harm, I'll carry on because they're enjoying it. So what I tend to do is just get them to go over the footwork, get them to go over grasp the bird's tail, get them to do a little bit of energy, you know, this is what we do. And standing in Wu Ji is sometimes just enough for the first session. So, you know, I think it really is important. It doesn't only help the people who are brand new, but it also gives the people a little bit more confidence to be able to understand the moves a bit more. And I think if you teach or if you show somebody else, it really does help you to get a better understanding of the move, and it builds confidence, and they're going to move forward, bearing in mind, you know, there's a lot of repeats through the long form. So if they can get the first section, they're going to be all right in second and third section. So yeah, I think it really is important to as long as they want to, of course. I would never put somebody on the spot and say, would you take these? I'd always ask first, say, you know, I think you're good enough. Would you like to have a go? And I think it, you know, it's helped my students move forward.
Steve, can I ask you, because I you know what my memory is like. Back in the day when you were a student, many years ago, when you were a student of mine, Steve, did I assign people, or was it all me leading?
Of course, it was always you. But no, what you do.
Definitely, Robert.
Yeah, what it was, you did encourage us, first of all, getting all apart from Leslie, who were willing to lead the group so that we got more confidence of standing out the front. And even if we didn't get through the first couple of moves, getting away from that fright of trying. You led that on slowly, I suppose what got me sitting here, to asking people such as me to, when newcomers came in, to lead them through sort of the safety issues and understanding and the basic ideas of Tai Chi before we got too deeply into it. And as soon as I got the mic on, my explanation for that is, although I think it is good for people to both gain confidence, and say I learn more from trying to teach than I do from being taught quite often. The group I'm working with would be extremely reluctant if I asked them to teach. But what I've sneakily done over the last year is, when we're looking at a particular part of a form, break them into small groups of 2 or 3 and encourage them just to talk to each other and to share information. And again, not be afraid to ask questions of both each other. And if the group, then none of them can agree on what they're supposed to be doing, then they can come to me as a group, and others may also have that question. So I'm trying to sneakily get them used to talking to each other, sharing information with each other, but in small friendly groups to start with. Then I can maybe expand that out as they gain the confidence. So hence that it's not getting them to teach, but I am trying to get them to partake of the teaching in a way. Hope that makes sense.
Yes. By the way, John, sorry, I should have said, don't wait. If anybody says anything that you want to come back in on, please immediately do.
Well, just adding to what I said earlier, again, going back to the John Ding situation, one thing that used to happen quite often, as one developed, through the form and was getting, you know, understanding of things, quite often be pulled out to run part of the warm-up section. There's a fairly, and I still follow this, there's a sort of half an hour of warm-ups, beginning with standing meditation, Zan Zhuang, for 15 minutes or so, and various other exercises. And I still follow this, but getting somebody out to do that again after they've stopped panicking. But my daughter teaches with me, but sometimes if she's not there, and there's a part of that she routinely does, then I'll grab somebody else and say, you do this bit. And it's quite interesting to watch, because the person who's leading it will quite often forget and get prompts from the audience. But again, from my point of view, getting the group together as well is a big part of this. So I'm, it's and I still very much teach on a one-to-one basis, rather than try to teach the whole group the form. When I learned, it really was one movement until you got it to their satisfaction, and then the next movement. I tend to go a bit beyond that and make it 2 or 3. But 2 or 3 movements, or maybe a whole sequence, single whip or something like that, they'll work as one. But I don't ever try to get the people who know the form do the form, and people who know a bit of the form will do the bit they know and drop out, and then I'll start working with them to progress it. So, as I say, it's a system that Master Ding has developed and been operating, and it works for me as well. But I do, as I said, I do like to involve other people. One of the reasons is that when I started to teach, not at the academy, because I taught there when I first qualified. When I started to teach outside, I found out how much I didn't know. And I was getting asked stupid questions by students who should have known better, and having to go back. I mean, I'd always say, I don't know, I'll find out. And I'd go back and have a conversation with one of the teachers at the academy, and we'd work it out. And the next week I could carry it forward. But I think that teaching teaches you an awful lot. And the stuff you don't, you find out the stuff you don't know. And I'm still, 20 years I've been doing Tai Chi, 23 years, and I'm still finding stuff that I'm in ignorance of, and I have to go away and find out about it.
Oh yeah, I bet that's true. Well, I hope that's true for everybody in this group. I have, and I'm sure we all have, I have met teachers that know everything. Let you know that they know everything, and there's several of those on Facebook forums. I, on a regular basis, even within this group, somebody will occasionally, you'll occasionally see my hands disappear, because somebody's used the Chinese term that I've never come, and my wife's Chinese from Malaysia, but it'll be a Chinese term that I've never heard, and it'll be like, oh my God, what's that one? Yeah, there's always more to learn. It's interesting for me what John is saying, because, and what you said, Sue, because it's kind of showing sort of like a bell curve of teaching styles. So on one hand, you've got John, who's fundamentally, and I realized, nothing will be exact, but, and I'll come to you next, Keith, fundamentally teaching sort of one move at a time. Sue, who's taking as much as somebody she thinks is comfortable to take and checking with them. I teach fundamentally 5 little short forms, all of which have the majority of their moves you would find in the modern 24 form. The 5 forms put together take somewhere between 10 and 12 minutes. So it's a medium length combined form.
Can I just say, Robert, before you move on, although yes, I do, what we do is we do a warm-up, 10-15 minutes warm-up, then we run through the whole form, and they join if they like, but then they do go back to move 1 and start at the beginning. I don't just take them in it and keep them there. I would always go back and to move 1 and start there.
Right. Whereas I don't. We've been trying this now. We're in week 8, I think, this week, of doing the warm-up, and then going through all 5 of our short forms as one continuous form, and then taking whichever section it happens to be that week and work. So you get to do each one of the 5 short forms every 5 weeks. And I'm going to probably do that for another 6 or 7 weeks. So they've had like 3 iterations of it, and then see whether people feel they're getting less progress or more progress. If they think they're getting more progress, we'll carry on. If people think they're getting less progress, we'll go back to the idea of you spend months and months and months and months teaching the first form, and then months and months. But it's what I love about Tai Chi is I think that almost any way you dice it, slice it, it works. Robert, did I see a raised hand? Keith, was it?
Yes. Yeah, yes, it was. Yeah. I just want to be clear on what we're trying to identify here is that when John was speaking, I was probably thinking outside of an existing class. So are we just talking about having our students help us within the class that we're running, or are we talking about making students qualified to teach their own classes?
No, that's not what I've been doing. Might have got a bit confused because when I'm going back to the John Ding Academy. These days it's the Master Ding Academy, by the way. But when I was there was an opportunity by invitation to join the instructors class, which involved a retreat and some weekends. And at the end of that, you were qualified to teach, and generally speaking, you would start teaching classes in the academy. And it's a wonderful system John has, because all his teachers taught for free, and he had about half a dozen. And people were always keen, or some people like me were keen to move on, and part of that was doing the instructor's course. He had invitation only advanced classes and stuff like that, and from there, generally speaking, people would go off and start. Not everybody actually, but quite a few of us, started to teach outside. There's
But I think the question I'm asking, sorry, Sue.
Sorry.
The question I'm asking though is that we're only talking within the class that you run, not outside.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sue?
Yeah, just I have got David, who he is competent to take the class if I'm on holiday, if I'm away, and I leave him to it. And I can trust that he will teach it to the best of his abilities. We're always learning, of course. And I think it's really important to have. For me, it's important that if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, then perhaps there's a good chance that the class can carry on with somebody else. So I have David. I would say he knows pretty much as I do. I teach him as much as I can. When I learn something new, I teach the class, and I teach David even more so that he can take the class. So yeah, I guess I would say that he would be instructor level if he chose to do it.
How do you get on for insurance then, Sue, for that person? For David?
He has his own insurance. I have my insurance. He has his own insurance.
Good. Yeah.
So that's the way it was.
Perfect.
I did have a look at adding him to mine, but it was more expensive to add him to mine than it was for him to get his own.
Yeah, my daughter, as I said, helps me. She's insured. I'm insured. If I'm not there for any reason, which is quite rare, she'll run the class as the insured person. But the other people that I mentioned, the other 3 people that I mentioned, will all join in and help her as assistants, if you like, but it becomes her responsibility. Only problem with that, I was away for a few weeks last year. I was actually in hospital for part of it. When I came back, I found they were playing music in the background. Chinese music, admittedly, and it's quite nice. And I still do play it when they play the form, because it came back and it sounded like Kung Fu Panda, you know.
Robert, your hand's raised. Please unmute and.
Yes, I'm hearing a lot of very interesting things that I like. And confidence is a very important thing for students to get, that as they start to teach, they see that they really know more than they thought they did. But the other side of that is that they see what they don't know, and that then leads them to learn more. But every martial art that I've taken, whether it was the different Tai Chi teachers I've studied under, or karate, or Aikido, ninjutsu, there were always people teaching each other. Everything was always, for example, with Cheng Min Ching, my first teacher, anybody who was there for a few years would be teaching, helping to teach, and going around correcting people. So you'd be in a class when I was a beginner, and you'd be, let's say, in single whip, and they would have you lift your hand over here, and then another one would come over and bring it down there, and then another,
Yeah.
And it would just, and I realized I have to. It was like when I studied physics, and you have a bad teacher and a bad book. You say to yourself, I'm going to have to learn this on my own, which was good, and work out the differences. And it made me think a lot, and realize that not everyone knew what they were showing. But anyway, I watch kids, especially my stepchildren, and then when they were young, and also other kids, especially kids who do skateboarding, which is very different from the competitive kinds of sports that other kids do. I think it's a wonderful one. And they're helping each other. They're showing each other. I think it's the most natural thing to teach. The kids are doing it all the time. Parents are doing it with their children. This is how society grows. Of course, you don't see it very much in certain areas, like the way we still have wars, etc. But still, on a one-to-one basis, it really exists. So
I think that's a good point. I think also you mentioned children doing it. I think the problem comes that it's the sort of thing that children do. Life gets in the way. You spend 20 or 30 years probably in a highly competitive business environment. Not everybody, obviously, but a good number of people. You then come to Tai Chi, and you've kind of forgotten how to share. You've forgotten how to be that person. And it begs the question, and I'm asking myself this as I articulate it, it begs the question, is part of our task, duty, whatever you want to call it, as an instructor, to try and wake that up again in people, so as to, does a Tai Chi teacher have a duty of care to their students beyond the obvious duty of care that is covered by the sort of insurance that we cover? Is there a duty of care in a way of, should we be trying to, and I'm trying to pick my words carefully here, should we be trying to improve the quality of the people we teach?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that, Robert. I think that one of the things that stops it, interferes with our natural habits actually is the education system. Mind you, I was educated in the 50s when it was really a load of rubbish. But I didn't have any children until I was 40, so I came back to the education system then, and I found it had improved, but not that much. Basically, they just stopped bashing kids as they used to when I was there. But I think that some of that is so rigid that it does stop people. I went to a seminar once about creativity. This is work rather than Tai Chi, but years ago. But the guy leading it said an interesting thing. He said everybody's creative. All kids are creative. They all can do everything. He said until they're aged about 5 or 6. And the thing that happens then is they join, they're taken into education. And that's where they lose their creativity. So I agree with Robert. I think part of what we do is to sort of try to bring this back.
We'll go in order. We've got 3 people with hands raised. Let's start with you, Lewis. You're muted. You'll need to unmute.
Yeah, great points here. I have a very different and actually conflicting experiences relating to people training and teaching in the classes, because on one side, in the Yan Ming tradition or school system, there is a ranking system, and it's for people as they go up the ranking, to assume those responsibilities of teaching not only youngers but also lower levels in the ranking. So it's assumed they know that once they start being interested in the ranking system, they're ranking for instructors. That's why the ranking exists, because anyone who is not interested in being an instructor doesn't have interest in doing the examinations and the rankings. So in that case, both in classes and in seminars, always the senior students, the warming up usually is in the same group, and then it's broken out in levels, and people train with some of the senior students in their levels or the levels below, and even those can be broken in similar levels. In my schools here in Portugal, we don't have that much important because the schools are very small, so everybody at the end trains with everyone. So it's just a matter of the more experience to helping each other. In China, my experience was different because it was one-on-one. So it was a system that the teacher only taught you one movement after you learn, you show some capability of learning. So you could be 1 week or 2 just on a kick or on a jump, and it wouldn't teach you anything else besides that. So that makes the teaching very different from the experience that I had here. Also, when I did the the instructor certification here in Portugal, we had to make a training manual. And the way we organized, because it was also practiced in the school, is we go around in cycles. So we begin with the first part. We teach each week. We teach each week or each 2 weeks. We teach one movement, and then next 2 weeks another movement. Next 2 weeks, and then we go back. So you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So there is a progression of the students coming back, and so it's also easier for beginners to enter the class, because they will learn that movement even if they don't do it so at the same level as the ones that are repeating the cycle. And also I teach Qigong, and Qigong is in the case I teach is 5 animals Qigong, and because it goes related to the year, or the months related to the organ, it really breaks down. So it's I teach one animal for 2 months, the other animal for 2 months, the other animal for 2 months. So whoever comes in learns that animal, and after 2 months he jumps to another, which is a completely different. So it is different approaches, but actually we are all in the same line. I understand.
That's actually the thing about the animal I didn't know, but it's interesting because the idea of what I'm trialing at the moment, this idea of what's called a rotating curriculum, I learned that from not Tai Chi people, but other martial arts people in America. And I wonder if what you've just said, sorry, you have to know, Lewis, that I am very skeptical of the idea of, this exercise is only good for 2 months, and then because of meridians and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I'm a big skeptic about all that. But it does make me wonder whether is that just another way of parceling up a rotating curriculum, because maybe at some time in the past people have realized this is a good way to teach. I have no idea. I might be talking out of my derriere. Sue, your hand is raised. You're muted.
Okay, a couple of things. Just going on what you've just said just before I forget, because by the time I said the other things, I'll have forgot about that. I think the rotating movements are really helpful. If you spend a certain amount of time on one thing, it's going to help it to stick in the person's mind. And then you move on to the next one. Hopefully you've done enough, 2 months maybe is enough, that it'll keep in their mind. And then when they've gone through another maybe 7 or 8 different exercises, they've still got some inkling of what they did originally. So that's what I believe in that 2 month, let's say, rota. I think originally your question was, Robert, about the movements and whether it should be exact. Should your hand be, will your elbow be just slightly below your wrist? And is it a problem if it's like this? Of course, yeah, if you're lifting your shoulder, we all know it's a problem. But I think for me, when I'm teaching, yes, let's look at why crane spreads its wings. We know that you're protecting your head here. If I see a student with their hand there, I'm going to question it, because I'll say, well, look, you're covering your eyes up for one. So if you have got an imaginary opponent, you can't see them. And then I sort of put their arm right. But I'm not that pedantic that I go and turn their hands and, I teach them. More important for me is that they leave the class feeling better than when they arrived. And if I'm picking on somebody, let's say, and it can come across that way if you're being that pedantic, they might go away feeling a little bit crap, to be honest. So at the end of the day, if they feel good energy and they've enjoyed the class, then that's fantastic. And then if I notice that some people are perhaps not quite right, I'll mention it again next week. And that's the way I like to do it. As long as it's not going to damage the body, as long as the knees are following the toes and they're not, doing something that may harm them, I won't push it too much. And then I'd like to just mention on Lewis's point with regarding to ranking. I've ranked with the Yang family and only I'm the second rank. So I although I haven't registered, I can be an associate instructor with the Yang family should I choose. And that's great. Doesn't mean anything. I was already an instructor before, apart from the fact that if I want my name in with the Yang family, I can put it there. I will say, however, though, when I went to Master Yang Jun's seminar, I questioned him and said, I'm instructing, and what do you think of that? Because I hadn't ranked at that point. And he said, everybody who's done Tai Chi for 2 years should be showing someone else, share it with the world. So, at the end of the day, he thinks it's great that we are sharing Tai Chi and that it is getting out to the masses. And I think truthfully, Chen Manching originally did that on behalf of the Yang family, although they may not like to admit that. But you know, I think it is important to share it if you can, even if it's only one move, even if it's only a little bit.
Sue, something you've just said has reminded me of a question I wanted to ask John. John, when you were an instructor with John Ding, when you were teaching a class, were you also paying to be in that class?
Oh yeah.
Great question.
Okay, so I wasn't going to go here, but this is how it actually works. If one wanted to teach outside, one could become a member of the John Ding International Academy of Tai Chi Chuan. Briefly, I was the Chingford branch. He's in Woodford, and that's where I live, so I couldn't be Woodford branch. But what followed with that was that he then expected a capitation on your students. So it would cost you so much per student to be a member. John has got classes, got teachers all over Europe, Germany in particular, but a lot in Belgium. I think there's one in Sweden as well, and several in Ireland. These are all approved teachers who call themselves the Master Ding Academy these days, and all pay him a capitation on their students. There's an empire.
You know, having trained with John Ding, I have a very high opinion of his skill level.
Yes.
Maybe one of the top 10 people I've trained with. I am fairly convinced that there are two kinds of senior instructor. There are senior instructors who love Tai Chi, they want to share it with the world, they want their students to share it with the world, and they are not particularly bothered by the income because they have, you know, a real job. And then you have quite a large number of senior instructors who I think still absolutely genuinely love Tai Chi and want to share it with the world, but they also want to earn a significant income out of what they're doing. Now, I used to have a friend in America who sadly died much too young, who taught karate, and he had become a millionaire through teaching karate.
Wow.
But he taught very authentic karate. He was a very nice guy. I get, you know, what's the old phrase that I like to quote? A workman is worthy of his hire. If you're teaching something or if you're building an organization, yeah, I guess you're entitled to the money. I just feel that it can become a little bit too much of an empire building mission, but
I think people
I'm never
that
going to make a
I
million.
I think people
Go
that
on.
are entrepreneurs, they end up taking that to whatever activity they do. I have a Polish friend. He is the president of the Polish branch of the YMAA, and he's an entrepreneur. So whatever he puts his hands on, in this case it was Tai Chi, but it could have been anything else. So and he will take his mindset and his organization and he will make a living out of it.
I can I just say, Robert, I've got to clarify this. The reason I am no longer with John Ding is simply because he and I fell out over the capitation fee, which I decided I wasn't going to pay anymore, although I was teaching. And that was sort of the end of our relationship. I gave him the keys back and went home. But
yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I know a couple of people that used to train with John Ding, and they moved away from him because they were concerned that what he was teaching favored students was different to what he was teaching less favored students. Now, I have no idea if that was a truism or whether
I would endorse that. as I said, he had the famous Wednesday invitation only class, which seemed to be, we used to think of as all his old mates. When he opened the Limehouse studio, he started another one there, which I went to. But yeah, I think that's right. I think that he was teaching at different levels. But I would not have anything said against his skill level. He was incredible. And those of us that worked with him have all experienced finding yourself on the floor and not quite sure how you got there, because John could do that, can do that.
Steve, I'm trying to think, because you were an instructor under Long Fay for longer than I was an instructor under Simon and Dick Watson's Long Fay thing. Now, when I was an instructor, I can't remember if the students had to join Long Fay, and B, I can't remember whether we had to pay any other money to them. I think maybe the students had to be members, but I don't think we had to pay anything extra. What's your memory on that, Stephen?
My memory was, yes, when you first linked up with Long Fay, we all joined, and I thought that was to do with the insurance. I can't be absolutely sure. It says a lot about my sort of deep pockets and short arms. I've never paid them anything, apart from, actual fees for if I go on courses and training. And it's all been shared openly with no fee. And as we say, I guess I'm certainly not of the entrepreneurial model. I'm better at giving money away than taking it in.
Me too, Stephen.
Yeah.
Me too. My students, when they teach, if they help me in the class, they don't pay for the class. If they don't help me in the class, then they pay for the class.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. If they've given a little bit of themselves, then I think it's fair.
At the moment, I don't have that control. It's the first time ever, as Robert probably knows, that when I took over from Robert, we ran it more like a cooperative, that I didn't take an instructor fee. We just covered the cost, the money went into a pot, and we'd use that either following Robert's original ideas of going out for a slap-up meal every so often, or getting a guest instructor in that we could afford to pay to come in. But where I am at the moment, some people foolishly pay me a fee to be a tutor at their establishment, so that they could bring Tai Chi into
which is great.
Yeah.
I do work in establishments, and they pay me for that. So that's a set fee, and they're happy to pay it. Just talking about guest instructors, did I once meet you, Robert? Did you once come up to Ripley to Neil's class?
Neil
Bradley.
Yes.
Oh,
Neil.
you did a sword form. Yeah.
God, I've no idea. If I
It's
did
a long time ago, it was.
That is because I learnt the 32 move sword. I then forgot it. I learnt it. I forgot it. I learnt it half. Forgot it. Developed a short sword form. I think Steve will remember that I taught in Luton, which it was just whether that's what I taught at Neil's. I don't remember.
It was just one session you came to. Gosh, a long time ago, many years ago.
God, I wish I had a memory. Wouldn't a memory be a good idea? No, you've met me. Oh God, that's quite scary. I don't know whether I'm more scared by people that have met me or people that haven't met me. It's
I don't think we had a conversation, and you certainly didn't talk as much as you do on here.
I actually I'm trying to think how to say this without damning anybody. I may have actually mentioned it. I can't remember. I have a couple of students who've been with me now for 7 years, and prior to that they were with another instructor, and I have trained with that other instructor. Oh, I think maybe it was a story I was telling you, Steve. I have trained with that other instructor, and this other instructor is very good. Don't get me wrong, his Tai Chi is excellent, probably way better than mine. But I can spend in an hour's class, I can talk for 20 minutes if I'm not careful. This guy in an hour's class can speak for 50 minutes, and the students
Wow.
love him. So he must have all the magic words. I want some of those. But yeah, I mean, one of the things, again, this is something I keep coming back to in various roundabout ways. One of the things I would really like to see develop eventually, before I die of old age, from this group is some kind of sharing, whether it be getting together instructor to instructor or instructor to senior student, just sharing, or, you know, Sue, you say to John, you know, come up and do this, or John says to you. So I think
Yeah.
that would be of enormous benefit to everybody. And it doesn't have to be, you know, expert teacher who knows all of this stuff.
Just go and share. Just to
Exactly.
share is amazing. I mean, it's I've never, until very recently, I never ventured into any other form. The reason I didn't is because I was frightened to death of upsetting the form I was doing by learning something else and diluting too. And then I got invited to a Chen Manching day, and I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. But it really is easy to get stuck in. Well, first, it started off first, I just wanted to learn Yang, so I didn't want to get involved in anything else. And then it was uncomfortable to go to anybody else, because I felt like I was being judged, or they thought they was being judged if I turned up at their class. And then it just went on and on and on until in the end, I just thought, you know what, I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing. And it was really nice to be invited. I don't know if you know a chappie called Ken Mead. No, yeah, he invited me to his one of his little seminars, and it was lovely. So yeah, it is definitely something that I would like to do.
When I did karate, which I did for whatever it was, 32, 34 years, 30, I don't know. When I started, the rule was Dennis, the senior instructor, group of clubs. Dennis's rules were you trained in his style. You could train in other styles, but you had to get permission. And I would be forever on the phone to Dennis going, oh, I'm going off, if it's okay with you, to a seminar here or a class there. And Dennis would be like, and his favorite phrase, by the way, back in the day was, the dog that chases two rabbits catches neither, meaning, yeah. But eventually, after 6, 7 years, whatever it was, I got to black belt with Dennis, and I phoned him up one day and I said, oh, Dennis, there's this seminar I want to go to. And Dennis, bless him, I will never remember this. This was over the phone, but you could hear this. Robert, you're a black belt now. You can make your own decisions. Meaning, basically, Robert, you are a lost cause. And I've always, I mean, this year I spent about 3 months training via Zoom with Eli Montague in the World Tai Chi Boxing Association stuff that his father Earl developed or learned or whatever. I went to a weekend course with Alex Dong of Dong style Tai Chi, where, as well as doing like stuff that was obviously Yang, because his great grandfather was a student of Yang, whoever it was. I also, for the first time ever, did some Wu Hao style stuff, and it was they're going through the form and I'm going through it with them, and I think we did the form 2 or 3 times. The first time I was actually pretty good, because I have the ability occasionally to just let my eyes lead my body. I always tell my students that, don't think, just let your eyes lead your body. But then the second time or the third time we did it, I was starting to think about it, and that's when it all went horrible. But it was enormous fun.
Yeah.
The more you get to chat, I've never done Chen Manqing style. I would love to do some Chen Manqing style. I've done Chen style, Yang style, Sun style for an amount of time, and then other bits and pieces. But how can people? I understand how some instructors are scared that another instructor coming in, for instance, you mentioned Neil. I met Neil when I was up in Buxton. When I was up in Buxton, because the Tai Chi Union sent, don't ask why, sent Neil to me for me to look at what Neil was doing, so I could tell them, the Tai Chi Union, that Neil was okay to be a member. What Neil
that
was
was
doing.
you. So you went through the applications with him. He's told me the story many times. I didn't realise that was you.
I mean, talk about in the Valley of the Blind, the one-eyed man is king. Except I was blind and he was the one-eyed man. I mean, his Tai Chi was, yeah, great. You get in there, lad. But there was a Chen style Tai Chi teacher that I think either when we were in Buxton or maybe just after we left Buxton and went to Gloucestershire, it was in Gloucestershire. There was a Chen style teacher that I wanted to learn from, and I knew his instructor. This guy didn't want to, I said, look, I'm a Yang style instructor. I would love to come and learn Chen style. And the guy said, no, I'm not interested in teaching you. And I went to his instructor because I knew him of old. And I said, look, you know me, I'm not trying to steal students. I just want to learn, Chen style. And he spoke to his instructor and then came back to me and said, look, I'm very sorry, Robert. I can't command him to take you as a student. And he just doesn't feel confident enough to have students in his class that know more than him, albeit about a different style. Whereas anybody that I have ever met on here or in real life, however much you are absolutely welcome to come to any of my classes as a student, as a teacher. Why not? Sorry, rant over.
Gina, who was due to join us today, I don't know why she's not here, because when I spoke to her on Friday, she was definitely coming. But hey ho, she'll probably join next time. But she had another instructor, obviously Chen Manqing. She's a Chen Manqing person. And when she came along to me, the difference between them both is it's hard to transition from Chen Manqing, in my opinion, watching Gina, not because I've done it, but watching her. And I just leave her to it, but her instructor virtually kicked her out of the class. Says, no, if you're going to Yang style, then don't come back here, pretty much. Without saying that, he just, dissed her. And I find that very, very sad. I do find it really sad because, it's a big world. It really is.
If one style, and I've said this like a million times, if I had a £5 note for every time, if one style of Tai Chi or one style of martial art or one style of whatever you want to call it was actually better than all the other styles, it would be the only style, especially with something like Tai Chi that was originally a martial art, because Chen, whoever it would have been, would have killed Yang, whoever it was, or Yang, whoever it was, would have killed, and it would just be one. But it's not. It's all valuable. It's all like Qigong. I mean, I have genuinely not the faintest idea of how many different flavors of Qigong are
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Officially more than 200. Officially more than 200. Non-officially, there are many people you meet, there are many people.
You think just in China, there are still so many relatively small villages, small towns that are fundamentally cut off from the mainstream, and little groups practicing here and little groups practicing there. and families. You know, there will be a grandfather somewhere in remote village somewhere doing his little exercises that his father taught him and that he's taught his grandchildren. But it's all good. I mean,
It's all good.
Other than the people I love to talk about, my favorite when I do talks on Tai Chi, I always try and work this in. You know about the group in Taiwan, the Qigong people, the Qigong people in Taiwan. It's been on TV, so it must be true. There's an all-male Qigong. You know it, Sue? Oh,
Oh, no,
there's
I
an
don't believe you.
all-male Qigong group in Taiwan, and what they do is they take heavy weights and pieces of cloth, and they tie the heavy weight to their genitalia, and they swing the weights. I have no idea why. I've seen it on TV, on documentaries. I have no idea why they do it. I have never felt the slightest inclination to copy that, but it's a valid form of qigong.
Yeah.
God.
I was told again by, sorry, going back to John, but it's all qigong. He said, you know, he used to say that Tai Chi is qigong by definition. So, you know, but I've in terms of doing other classes, I've only ever done other yang classes so far. I've got one coming up in October that is, I think, the 12 step, which I've never done before. But before lockdown seemed to kill everything, and a couple of illnesses I had. But I've done. I used to go quite often to Mike Taylor in Cambridge, who I think Sue obviously knows.
Yeah.
And he warned me before I went that the traditional yang style is not totally different to the traditional yang style I do, but it was enough to confuse the hell out of me. It sort of seems to be chopped off a bit in places, you know.
I've completely lost track of how many different traditional, authorized, family, definitive yang styles are out there in any event. It's certainly more than 3 to my certain knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
here in Portugal, I'm in the middle of a fight between Yan Jun and how is it called, Fu Qingchuan, the grandson of Fu Zhouwen from the Yang family, and they have like this big fight in China and abroad because Fu Zhongwen, according to the information, taught Yang Zhenduo because he didn't know anything about Tai Chi according to their story, their version of the story. So there is this big distinction because they say they are the authentic and the others say they are the family, and it's a bit sad, but it's a big business in China and elsewhere, and there is
I think
very strong
it's very
implication.
silly, Lewis, to be honest, from all accounts. I think it's a feud that just goes on officially. They do recommend his book. He was taught, or he was one of Yang Chengfu's top disciples.
Yes.
Yang Chengfu wrote his book, and what was his name again? So, you know, the guy you just said. I'm terrible with Chinese names. He stole Fu Zongweng, that's right. He stole Yang Chengfu's book and translated it himself. And this is my story that I've heard down the line. It's not definitely 100% true, but reading between the lines on what Nancy Lucero said and seeing Yang Jun's temper when it was mentioned at the seminar as well. But he stole Yang Chengfu's information and got the book out to the public before Yang Chengfu could.
That was
Yang
Chen
Chengfu
Wei-ming.
then.
That was not Fu Zongwen. That was Chen Wei-ming. It was one of his disciples that did that. He borrowed the book
I'm sure. Let me
according
just
to
get
the
the book.
story. Yeah, according to the story,
Just
Chen
let
Wei-ming.
me get the book and I'll be back. Bear with me.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless, one of the things I've tried different. I tried Wu. I tried because every 4 years the Young Family organizes a symposium, and they invite the 5 major styles, and it's very fun and it's a great experience because you have like 2 days with each master. Yeah, that's Fu Zhongwen's book. Yeah, but
Yeah,
Yang
he's
Chen
he
Fu. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
he. This book was stolen from Yang Chengfu, and then Yang Chengfu got Chen Manqing to write it again because Yang Chengfu wasn't very literate, so he got Chen Manqing. So the book that was written by Chen
Man, Ching.
Yang Cheng Fu was actually written by Cheng Manqing. So there's a massive story in the background, really. It is quite interesting if you look at the
Even
history.
if you go to the Yang family website and you go to the members page, one of the
Yeah,
theory
but
books
that's just Yang
what
that's
no,
just
but
their
one of the
story.
books this one of the books they advise people to read, it's that book. So
Yes, it is.
for
Yeah.
yes, Yang Jun has
Yeah,
no
yes, it is.
problem
Yes, it
of
is.
admitting the origins and whoever learned with whom. The only difference is in political and economical terms in China. This is a big issue because there are in the Communist Party, there are, how does it say, supporters of each of them, and they are very big and very high in the party, and
What?
that means big business.
Yeah.
Big business.
Hey,
It's a big,
No, it is a business for each
Yeah.
family, and
Yeah.
it's understandable. They're all going to be very protective of their
Actually, it was
history,
very
let's call
funny.
it.
It's very funny because about 2 months ago, something happened at the government level in China that they made a young family descendants event where all of them had to be present. So you see Fu Qingjuan, you see Yang Jun, you see there's another very descendant from one of the disciples that lives in Xi'an. I don't remember his name now. And the real blood of Yang Chen Fu, Erica, which doesn't know anything about Shi, was there too, just waving the arms.
But you know,
So
it's the same thing and I totally there are certain groups that I'm very sympathetic towards. So for instance, anybody that's ever done taekwondo will know that there is a complete mythology around the history of taekwondo which ignores its Japanese roots, because when the Japanese invaded Korea, the things they did were just horrific and terrible. With China, with Wudang, with Shaolin, those are things that fundamentally disappeared and were rebuilt. Same as I love, one of the favorite cities in Europe I've ever been to was Budapest. And when you go to Budapest and you go on the tour, they go, that building there is 14th century, and this one's 16th century, and this one's this, and the castle is that, and it's fantastic. It's this old city. And then you go on another tour, and my wife and I did this. We went on these couple of tours, and you listen a little bit more carefully, and hidden away, just as a sort of a little side note, is these were built in wherever. During the Second World War, the Germans destroyed everything. After the Second World War, we rebuilt it, and we just kind of ignore that bit where it's destroyed. And I totally get it, because I mean, as a tourist, Budapest is a beautiful, beautiful city. I've never been to Shaolin. I'm not hugely keen on going. I would love to go to Wudang. I just think it would be a
Oh,
beautiful place to visit.
you know, last month when you said, "Shall we all meet somewhere? Let's do a trip to Wudang." I'm
Yeah.
definitely there, without a doubt.
Well, I mean, that's something I can certainly sort of promote the idea of.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
It would be nice. Yeah, that would be a fun thing to do. I don't know how many people would be up for that. I think it would be the sort of thing that I would want to organize, not as a group trip, because if it's a group trip, then somebody's got to do the booking and hold the money, and that raises all sorts of problems. If it was something where a number of us were all going to be sort of in the same place at the same time, that I would feel more comfortable with.
More like a date,
Yeah.
right? And not
Yeah.
a tour.
Make your own way there, and
Yeah,
I'll see you there.
But what I've heard I've heard very disparate stories about people that been visiting Wudang, and in some of the temples, the same rebuild happened. One of the more more commonly seen monasteries there. The guy is now like 60 or 70. He went there when he was 50. He never learned any martial arts, and the monastery were practically thrown down, and he rebuilt it with his wife or something like that, and he started training. And now he shows up doing all kinds of fancy things. But there are many temples there and monasteries, so there is very big difference between of them. So some of them, the smaller perhaps, are more easily.
In fairness, it happens everywhere. Keith, some time ago, was talking to me about somebody who is a well-established teacher in this country, but whose history is, I will call it suspect, to be kind. And I was recently talking to another very senior Tai Chi instructor in this country, and I said, because I know this person very well, and I, open conversation, I said, I've heard differing viewpoints as to whether this other instructor is not that this instructor isn't good now, but does this instructor have this history or not, kind of thing. And this other instructor, whose opinion I trust, said, yeah, it's a constructed history rather than an accurate one. But I am retired. I teach Tai Chi. It earns me a bit of money. That money then goes back pretty much into my own training, so I can go off and train with people. If I suddenly got 20 people phone me up tomorrow and say, Robert, we want to join your instructors program. Now, my instructors program is relatively cheap, but if I had suddenly 20 people, then that'd be nice. And if you had 20 people that become instructors, then blooming heck, you've got an organization, and then you can train those 20 to train another 20, and blooming heck, then you've got 400 people. And then all of a sudden, I'm driving around in a Rolls Royce, chauffeur driven. I am incredibly important. I am the world's best this, and I have the secret manuscript that was given to me by, and that's what happens. And I kind of, I was an accountant out of school. I was an accountant for 7 years. I do understand how money can be a major driving force. And although in Tai Chi, perhaps we like to think of ourselves from time to time as being sort of more ethereal, esoteric, wise beings, most of us still have to have food on the table.
Yeah, I think it also has a cultural background too, because I know a Chinese master who lives here in Portugal for many years, more than 40, 50 years, and he used to teach in a garden, well, not for free, but almost for free for many years, and today he has many structures that he formed. And at a certain point, he said, "Okay, I'm retiring, and I'm going to buy a small piece of land in outside of the city." And he was expecting that his instructors would pay him like a fee or something like that. He was actually honestly expecting that his instructors would take care of him in his elderly days, because for him it made part of the relation of a master and a student, not a student, a disciple. But for us Westerns, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Our minds are not formatted that way. We go to classes, we enjoy the teacher. There's somebody we make friends with. We go try another class, or we do it for many years, and someday our teachers say, "Well, I'm going to retire one of these days, and so be happy and bye bye, and I'm going to travel around the world and whatever." And you think it's normal. But in Taiwan in the 50s, that was not the idea. You would go to your master's country and take care of him and cultivate the land and all of that, and help with the crops and things like that. So we have a master disciple relation without the master disciple relation.
John, is there anything? Because I think we've probably. Sorry, my apologies.
Just
Is there anything anybody would like to say to sort of conclude on this subject, or to open up any
Oh, no.
other subject? So,
on another subject, going back to last month, we're not going to go into it in a big way, but the YouTube, sorry, the videos that we was talking about, and there was a lot said about this pro cam, and yeah, it's a bit of money and it's a lot of faff, and in my opinion a waste of time, but you know, that's my opinion. I this morning have done a video of I recorded the class, took a section of the class on my very old 5 or 6 year old tablet, nothing special. Did the video, and then this morning I thought, right, let's have a look at what you can do. I've always recorded everything before on Zoom and then just uploaded it from Zoom. It's not great. So I thought, right, let's have a look at this. So on my little tablet, I went into the Google Play and had a look for videos. YouTube video editor. It's free. It's amazing. I literally went onto it. I downloaded it in seconds. I uploaded the video. I cut a little bit off. I'm not very technical. I just got to the bit I wanted, cut it off, and then it just says upload. And it uploaded to YouTube with no problem whatsoever. So I just wanted to comment on that from really just from last month. I know there's lots of different
thank you, Sue.
ways.
Yeah, I mean, I use a thing called Shortcut, which is also free. I use, because
I've used
Microsoft Office.
Champ in the past, but I did think the YouTube video editor was a lot easier this morning.
The one which is, yeah, Clipchamp, I use if I want to put subtitles on a video, because it will do reasonably good audio recognition. I do that for my online training website. I don't bother when I'm uploading to YouTube with subtitles. I know theoretically you can and should, but yeah. But no, certainly anything that you do, it's always worth sticking up on YouTube or on the web or wherever. And you are absolutely right, Sue, you do not need expensive equipment. The webcams that I have in my studio, I have 3 actually now, so I can take forward and backward, and if I want a side view, and then edit whichever ones I want. They're like 25 quid each, 20 quid each. I would, because webcams die. I don't know why, but webcams seem to die. And I would rather have a 20 quid webcam die on me than a 200 quid webcam die on me.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, I mean, these things. I mean, a cousin of mine is a videographer, and he helped me do some videos early part of this year. But while he was doing video with his camera, which is an old but professional camera, I was also taking some video just with the phone and clip them together. You don't.
Yeah.
You should think about. I'm sorry, this is me preaching. You should think about what can you do with your Tai Chi to spread the word. And one of the easy ways of spreading the word is putting it up on YouTube. If you like criticism, you leave comments open, and no matter who you are, I don't care if you're Yang Flibbity Flobbity or Chen Flibbity Flobbity or you or me, whoever you are, if you leave it open for criticism,
You will
you
get
will
comments.
get people telling you you're crap. But that's okay, because I now have a simple way of going, oh, thank you. I did it the other day to
Thank
somebody.
you.
Thank
Wonderful,
you for
yeah.
that. Could you send me a video of you doing it properly? And when you do that, you go very, very quiet, very, very quickly. But you can just say no comments. And I do think the more people that put stuff up on places like YouTube, the better it is for people who are coming. I was listening to a podcast before. Peter's gone, hasn't he? Peter does a podcast thing, and he did a podcast with somebody who teaches for Youth 3A. And what she does is they get together in a group, and she was saying she has a list of like 4 or 5 YouTube videos, and in the class what she does is she has a laptop and a projector, and they work the classes working along to whatever their favorite YouTube videos are. Now, that may not be Tai Chi teaching as I would recognize it, but if it's working for them, it means there are 20 people a week or 20 people a month, whenever they meet up, gaining access to something we all love. So I am, you know, like I'm a huge fan in meeting up, I'm also a huge fan in sharing. Yes, John.
I was only going to say on the subject of equipment, when lockdown hit and my class was suddenly shut down by the people I hired the hall from, my daughter and I sat there, what can we do? No, she's got a little bit of experience, got a lot more now, but she'd had a little bit of experience. But we stuck a mobile phone on a tripod, and she edited the videos. We did one lesson every week, and it was basically a single move from the Yang form with a bit of chat from me. But although the actual quality is probably crap, they work very well. They look okay. They've got titles and all the rest of it. They're still on my website. My students still use them. New ones, newer ones that I didn't know during lockdown. They still use them to learn from. Never had any comments, funnily enough, but I really don't care one way or the other. So, it's but it does work. There are a couple of other videos, or 3 other videos of me somewhere on YouTube doing the long form, which one of my students shot on an iPad. And again, we edited a little bit. I think her husband actually edited those, and we put them up, and they're still around somewhere. But you don't need really much equipment other than what you've got in your pocket.
That's right. I agree totally. And there's so many free, like you say, different video editors that and they must be easy if I can use them. That's all I can say.
When I'm editing one of my videos, I will top and tack, same as I'll do with this. I will probably cut the first X minutes off or X seconds off until like it begins. And at the end, when we say bye-bye, I think last month there were a couple of things said sort of after we'd said bye-bye that were not really germane, so I cut that off. But if I'm doing a Tai Chi video and I make a mistake during the video, 19 times out of 20, I will leave it in the video. Because
I've left mine today. I looked at it. I wasn't happy. And I just thought, I mean, I was basically showing the footwork and the hip movements for bow stance and parry block and punch, the empty stance to the corner. And as I was doing it, I thought, I'm not happy with my arms. Sod it. We're talking about feet. Leave it up there. And if somebody says something, so be it. I'm not bothered.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good attitude. So I think the only way to overcome the amount of bad stuff that's out there is to put out good stuff. Now, I will acknowledge that some of the bad stuff that's out there is not obviously bad stuff. So, for instance, there is stuff out there where it'll be an international Tai Chi competition or an international Wushu Tai Chi competition, and somebody beautifully dressed will come out and they will do this and they will do that, and then they will do a big jump and they will land in a sort of a pistol squat. Or that is athletically incredibly good, but it is bad Tai Chi from our perspective because, sorry, Lewis, I don't know your demographic, but unless you are actually teaching young children who want to compete, I'm not going to get a 70-year-old come to me because they've seen a video of somebody doing a backflip, basically. So it's not bad Tai Chi in one sense, but it is bad Tai Chi, I think, somebody jump in
and that creates the wrong, sometimes that creates the wrong expectations to the market, because you're sending a message that you're teaching something to somebody, and people don't identify. They say, well, I'm not 18 years old or 15, that's not good for me, and they step back. So I have a very funny story, because my former teacher, he was because he did a lot of kung fu also with Yang Junming, Shaolin and White Crane and all that. So he was very fond of hard style martial arts. He also teach Tai Chi a bit on the side, but mostly what he really enjoyed was the martial aspect. And at a certain point, he had to leave the place where he was teaching, and he found a new place. And that happened at the same time he got to be a disciple from Yang Junming. So for him and for anyone, it's a very important step. So he said, well, now I'm going to be able to teach what I really want. And he said, well, our Tai Chi classes are going to be martial. So if you don't like martial, you can go away. And I look one side and look to the other. I said, there's nobody here to do martial. Are you kidding? If we fall to the ground, we won't be able to stand up again. And this guy is crazy. And that was the end of his martial training, because there's no 10 years or 12 years later, of course he cannot teach martial, because the audience is not for that.
Yeah. Yes, John.
I was just to say, if you want to see an example of a bad video, there is somewhere out there Yang Sao Chung doing the Yang form, the one that I do. His daughter shot it on 8mm. It was
in Hong Kong when he was 80 something, right?
Yeah, that's right. He was really old. In terms of technical quality, it's bloody awful, but it's great. Great fun to watch. Historically, I've got a link on my website that goes to it, because I think it's really worth having.
I think that's I mean, that's one of the issues you get a lot on YouTube, where you get young people or maybe, I don't know, maybe just trolls saying, oh, well, you know, it would never work on the street in an MMA competition, blah, blah, blah. Forgetting that the sort of things that people did in their 20s is very different to the sort of thing. Really good example. When I was in my early 20s, I used to do rock climbing, and I was for a while not terrible. I wasn't ever great, but you know, I could pull my weight up with just like a few fingers. I'm 72 on Friday, and on Sunday my family and I are going to a place called Rock Up, which is near here, where you have a rope that will take your weight and you climb up lots of different little vertical challenges. I will do it. I mean, I asked that we do that for my birthday. I will do it because it's fun for everybody, from me, my kids, the grandkids. We all enjoy doing it. But the quality of what I'm going to do when I'm climbing up will be so inferior to what I did when I was 20 that there is. So the fact that a video shows somebody not at their peak should not be a reason to criticize.
No.
But unfortunately, of course, a lot of people will criticize things that are not the way. We've talked about this already. If something is not my style, then it must be the wrong style, kind of thing. And that's just,
Yeah.
Yes, there is this search for the authentic. It's characteristic of the postmodern era that everybody is looking for the authentic whatever, and none of this is authentic. It was
it never
reinvented.
was.
Never
You know,
was.
whoever it was that whether it's the Chen family or the Lee family or it's somebody else, whoever it was that first did Tai Chi, the first Tai Chi. It wasn't the first Tai Chi. They didn't exist in a vacuum. They will have had influences and seen things. Everything is derivative. Everything changes. And it should be like that. Ah, Virginia. Hello. Hello for joining us, Virginia. A wee bit late, my darling. But please unmute and introduce yourself. Hello, Virginia.
Is she there?
Is that somebody you know, Sue? Is that the lady you were talking?
That's the link. That's the lady that I introduced. Yes. She's not messaged, so
Talk sweetly to her, Sue. She's probably
Gina,
taken one
there?
look at me and thought, "Oh my bloody god!" I didn't know it was an ugly person's competition.
Oh gosh, there's none of those here. We're all wonderfully awesome in every way. Are you there, Gina? Hello.
Does she know she needs to unmute?
Can you unmute, Gina? If you may need to unmute your phone or device, whatever it is you're using.
I'm sorry, I'm just going offline for 1 minute. John, if you can just take the help.
Yeah, okay. Oh, dropped in there. So, well, really, does anybody else have anything while we're waiting for Virginia? No, okay.
I just thought that was a very good example of getting people to teach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't quite
Assume-
drop people in that.
Yeah.
I will just say something Lewis said earlier about teaching martial aspects. That I've talked a lot about my former master, John Ding. One of his special classes was specifically that. As I said, he had about, I tried to work this out, there must have been 11 classes a week at the Woodford Centre, and which was an old factory unit, hot in the summer, cold in the winter. But one class a week was dedicated to martial. But it was an area, is an area of interest for him because he actually came to Tai Chi from another martial art, and he wasn't that young when he did it. He learned from one of the Master Chu. I know I can never remember the rest of his name, but there were two masters. Hello, that was the. I think that was Virginia.
Yes. Can you hear
Lovely.
me?
Yes, can you put your video on? Can you see the video? If you click on that, you'll have a red line through it. And just turn that on so we can see your beautiful face.
I don't know, this tablet I'm just doing terrible things on it. I don't know what's happening.
So it may be
Got
on
me.
the bottom. Oh, there you
we
are. Hello.
Hi. Hello. Oh dear.
You're just a couple of hours late, but that's fine. Have you been busy?
I've been out helping a friend, and I got back and I'd got the timing wrong. I'd got that it started at 7, and then I was double checking, and I thought, oh dear, I've been very disrespectful. So sorry.
No, not disrespectful at all. You're here now, and Robert has been recording it, and he will send you the recording. And
Yes,
you
of
have been
course.
mentioned earlier anyway, so yeah.
No, it's nice to see you. You're welcome. As the old saying goes, better late than never. So not a problem.
Well,
we've had people join days late. We've had people join days early. Because sometimes you send out like the reminder and people see the word reminder, the 2 emails I send out, like this is when it will occur, and then a few days before you send out the reminder, and people will go, oh, and they click on it and they join and they're waiting. They haven't read that it's 2 or 3 days still to, but so no problem. So tell us, sorry, I don't know if you already have. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Right. I've been doing Tai Chi on and off since 2017. I started with Zongding under a chap called Ken Mead, and then with Donald Harradine. And that's Chen Manching Tai Chi. And they belong to an organisation called Zongding, which is run by, I think, a guy called Nigel Sutton in Malaysia. So I've been doing Chen Manching, but I got recommended to Sue. I mean, it must have been about 3 or 4 years ago, which is Yang style, Yang family. And so I've been training with her as well. So I'm fairly conflicted. But put it like this, I enjoy it. But you're making me smile, because you're saying everybody's well, lots of people are late or early joining your classes. So what does that say about what Tai Chi does for your brain?
Sorry, are we here about Tai Chi? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought this was about car mechanics. Oh, I think that's a really sorry. Is it because Sue wasn't calling you Virginia? How'd you like to be addressed?
I'm Gina when I'm good, and I'm Virginia when I'm bad.
She's always
so
Virginia.
Gina does.
All right,
and
Gina.
Some of my friends call me Gin as well. So you know, I've got various. You can take your pick, but Gina generally.
Gina, I think one of the things, there's a phrase, it came to my mind the other day when I was teaching somebody that's got some, in a group, teaching somebody that's got some medical issues, and they were, was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 3 years ago, and he's just started doing Tai Chi because his doctor recommended it. Great. I'm always happy to have people with medical recommendations come to me. But I was looking at him and I was thinking, and the phrase that went through my mind was a phrase from many years ago, which is, be careful when you're a teacher that you don't develop Jesus Christ syndrome. Jesus Christ syndrome is when, as an instructor, you want to cure all all your students. Oh, this one can't do this, and this one's got a bad shoulder, and you know, by doing Tai Chi, I will make them all magical. The extension of that goes to us as individuals, and I think it is nobody here. I think, raise your hand if this doesn't apply, but I think everybody here is over 21. Yeah. Okay.
We wouldn't admit to it.
No, absolutely not. But the point is, as you get older, things are going to degrade. That's the nature of life. And memory is one of those things that as you get older, memory tends, for the majority of people, to degrade in some fashion or other. And fine, I don't like the fact that I've got a little bit of arthritis and I've got a little bit of a bad shoulder and my memory's not as good as it was 20 years ago and blah 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 blah. But all of that, and this is what I think is the huge strength of Tai Chi, all of that is a bloody sight better than the alternative, which is to die long before you need to. So, and as for the Chen Man Ching Yang thing, I've done I've done 3 styles to some degree and bits of other styles. And if one style messes up another style a bit, so what? You're just generating the Jinnah style, which is just as valid as the Yang style or the Chen Man Ching style or the Hu Flung Dung style.
I think
One of the things I would like to add, sorry, John, is that there is, even though what Robert said is absolutely true, there is scientific evidence of the benefits of Tai Chi.
Oh yeah.
So it is proved and it is replicable. And the difficulty is when these experiments do different movements and different populations and different styles, but the evidence exists. So I think that you can take for granted.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that, Lewis. I just meant that it's not a universal panacea. It's not going to cure everything. It's not, it's not going to prevent your hair
Robert,
falling out.
I've got a gift that says Tai Chi is like duct tape. It fixes everything. So I'm going to have to disagree with you.
John, you wanted to.
Well, I was only going to say on this topic, this comes up from time to time. What I've always told people is, look, Tai Chi won't actually cure anything, and I'm evidence of that. But what it will do is make you feel okay about what you've already got.
I teach Tai Chi. I mean, I teach it for martial arts occasionally, but primarily I teach Tai Chi for what I call health and wellness. And the way I always explain that is health is, if you like, the biological bit of it, the I've got this illness, I've got this disease, I've got this condition. Tai Chi will help the body deal with an awful lot of health issues. But the wellness issue is something different. Wellness, the way I describe it, is you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you've got 6 months to live. You've got XYZ, it's incurable, you've got 6 months to live. Wellness is how your conscious mind and your subconscious mind interprets that information. Some people, given that, let's call it what it is, death sentence, will be terrible.
They'll go home and die.
Other people will be like, okay, that's a fact, but let's live life to the fullness. The ability to live life to the fullest, sorry, not fullness, fullest, is, in my mind, what I mean when I say Tai Chi is good for wellness. The way you feel about yourself and your environment, your existence. And I think Tai Chi improves that. And I think maybe, and I'd be happy to be argued about this, but I think maybe to a certain extent, the wellness aspect is more important than the health aspect.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've had a couple of issues since sort of 2021. I had bowel cancer, and when I got involved with the oncologist, which I didn't go with them. I decided I wasn't going to do that. But I had a bit of difficulty because I wasn't acting like a cancer patient. You know, I was quite jolly and taking it, and this seemed to cause them some confusion. But last year I had heart failure, which but both of these, Tai Chi got me going again. That was the point. It took me 4 weeks after the operation surgery to get back to doing the 108 Yang form, bit by bit. But you know, I was sort of measuring how much I could do each day, and with some qigong and zanzuang and exercises. But you know, it was about 4 weeks I could just about do snake creeps down, which was my benchmark. The heart thing took me a bit longer to get going. My daughter had to kick me a couple of times, but again, you know, once she got me back into we do Baijian qigong, and once she got me back into all of that, quite quickly I was back, you know, running the class. And
Well done, John.
But I think, you know, as I say, I always think it's feeling okay about what you got, rather than, which is what you were saying, Robert, rather than being able to cure it.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to do stress management, corporate stress management training, one of the things I used to talk about, and again, I apologize if you've heard me talk about this before, which is when you are stressed, one of the things long-term stress in particular does is it suppresses the immune system. Now, if you then bring Tai Chi into the equation, Tai Chi tends to relax people and make them feel good. Being relaxed and feeling good tends to reduce stress. If your stress level is reduced, your immune system is able to act more efficiently, given that everybody's immune system will have a sort of a different, you know, top level, as it were. But the point is, if your immune system is acting hopefully as effectively as it can, then that may prevent you from getting certain conditions and diseases, and it will certainly help you deal with and cure certain issues. So Tai Chi, I think you sort of said it, I'm saying it just in a different way, John. Tai Chi, I don't think directly cures things, but I think there is a very obvious pathway through the mind and the body which leads to curative.
Yeah.
There's also another aspect which I think is important with age, is the fact that you are learning physical with the mind involved. And that type of learning for the brain is actually food. I mean, it's not the same if you're just walking or doing whatever activity you're doing, but your mind is somewhere else. But when you're learning Tai Chi, you're learning movements, and you have to be actively involved in that learning process. Your brain, I don't say it regenerates, but it maintains at least the level of cellular activity and the neuro communication that is essential for not degrading as fast as it would without that stimulus.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I think Tai Chi should be taught in a way that is not too easy. We don't want to make things too difficult for our students, but actually, if you were to break Tai Chi down into some sort of super simplified format where it was really every lesson was going to be a breeze, every lesson was going to be easy, you would actually be doing your students a disservice, because you need, from time to time during a Tai Chi lesson, you need your brain to go, huh? Hand, left hand, right hand, what? It's that which stimulates the mind. And again, you know,
Not
yeah.
only that, Robert, I think, but also when people are concentrating and thinking and learning and doing, they're not concentrating and thinking about the stress and the stuff, anxiety, and whether they've washed the pots up before they left the house, whatever it is, you know, they're actually in the moment of Tai Chi for that hour. And I think that release is sometimes just enough just to get that, to settle them back down and help with the
I
healing.
think that's 100%, Sue, but I will email you later to ask you to explain to me what washing a pot before you leave the house means. No idea.
Some people have that OCD thing. That's not me. I just pray that Stephen's washed them by the time I get home.
Gina, is there anything that you would like to discuss or talk about or bring to the table?
Well, it's probably harping back to the bits that I missed, but I actually think it's to do with should you let your instructors let you teach a little if you're not an instructor yourself. I certainly believe that that is very good, because if you've got to teach somebody something, it makes jolly sure that you know it much better yourself. It soon picks up when you can't, if you don't know something, you might not know that you don't know it, but if you've suddenly got to show it to somebody else, it becomes very obvious. I think it also, if your teachers allow you just a little bit to teach, it improves your self-confidence, because you know they've got confidence in you. And I think it's a sort of two-way process as well. You know, if your teachers, I'm not an instructor, but if they allow you to do something with somebody else, it feeds back, because they can pick up, you know, the teacher and the taught. It's not a one-way process, is it?
It's certainly something I've got to do more of. I mean, John sparked the rebirth of the thought in me, and I've certainly got to. And what you've just said, Gina, makes me also realize that if you do that, there's another thing going on, which is if you have students that you are teaching, and you have students that, be a student or other students that other students are teaching, some of the students that you are teaching are watching what's going on, or at least are aware of what's going on, and that is probably going to build their confidence, because they can see there is a process in place.
Yeah. Well, it's like learning eases you into things, isn't it? Anyway,
I heard a very interesting story. There is this Canadian Aikido master, old master, and he said that when he was younger, he would put some money together and he would go to Japan to practice in the Ueshiba school. And he was very honest, and he was saying, well, we never train with Ueshiba, we train with the senior students, because the week or 2 weeks we were there, we saw Ueshiba walking around the room like like a marionette. They would see it in the distance. The actual learning was with the senior students. because they were always there, they were always present, they were closer to them than the master was, because the level was closer, they were closer to the problems that the students were facing. So there was a much stronger connection than with the master. Everybody knows who the master is, but it's far. It's in terms of emotional connection, they're too far.
Yes, John.
Going, that goes back to what I said in the beginning when I learnt. I joined the academy, and there were two teachers there, and I've got a health anecdote about one of them, but and I went to other classes, and it was the same. I don't think I saw John Ding for a couple of months, although it was his academy. So yeah, the same thing. That's exactly how it went. But that's I think, I mean, John is Chinese, and I think he taught very much in the master-student mode. He was the master, is the master for that matter. All the teaching was done by other instructors and by senior students, which is where I got the idea of letting your students teach. Actually, Junior, I absolutely agree with what you said. You summed up the whole thing that I spent a lot more time talking about. The idea that by teaching, by getting somebody to teach, they learn as much as they're teaching. I said earlier that when I started to teach away from the academy, I found out how much I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert.
No, thank you. I think, yes, Sue's having a quick shufty at her watch there. Was that right? Yes, yeah. I was
Sorry.
Okay, I have a little clock on the side here. I think that we probably could all carry on talking about Tai Chi
Forever.
forever. Yeah, no, I mean, maybe
But
not
I'll follow
quite
it.
as long as that, but pretty darn near. But I think what we will do is say thank you, and obviously big thank you to John for presenting tonight. I think we will leave it there. Obviously, if anybody, and I mean anybody, has any ideas for something they would either like to personally present on next month, or just any ideas for a topic that they would like to be discussed next month, please give me a shout, give me an email, whatever. By the way, with emails, if I don't immediately reply to emails, I apologize. I have been having ongoing problems with email. The latest facet of which is that emails keep disappearing from my email program. Very weird. So I think, thank you all very much, and we will say good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to meet you all.
Thank
See
you
you
very much.
next time.
See you
Bye-bye.
next time, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.